Tim, your life changed 8 years ago when a friend came to you saying, I have blood cancer. Fast forwarding 8 years later to today, you are an international wellness speaker. You have created an incredible product line. You have helped thousands of people with all sorts of issues take charge of their health. Tell us about the journey. How did it all get started?
Well, Steve, first off, I grew up on a cattle and hay farm over in Eastern Oregon, and did a lot of hunting and fishing, and played a lot of baseball for about 30 years at a pretty high level, and pretty much just grew up on the standard American diet. Now, so what ended up happening was, fast forward till age 37, I found myself 38 pounds overweight. I had a big fat gut, a double chin, which was not me, but it was. I had severe digestive tract issues. That was really, really bad. I had to eat like Tums and Rolaids all day long. I had them in my car, in my truck, in my office, in my home. I was eating these things all day long. Doctor wanted me to go on Prilosec, but I just didn't want to do it. And I just kept manifesting disease. I had skin issue on my shoulder, skin issue on my knee. It was like psoriasis type stuff. It was really, really gross and painful. And more than that, it was very embarrassing. I didn't want to go to the beach with my friends and take my shirt off and that kind of stuff. And then eventually the dam broke, and I found myself in the hospital getting an organ removed. And I realized at that point that I was out of control with my life, but I didn't know what to do, where to turn. And then what happened was actually playing baseball. And one of my friends that I played baseball with, his name was Calais. And he got diagnosed with cancer, and it was really hard on the team and everything that he was going through this, and I knew he was going through the chemo and all this stuff, and then I remember vividly his last baseball game, and he's very proud guy. He was center fielder, and he always wanted to sprint out to center field and sprint back in between innings, and that's kind of a pride thing. And he said, "Hey guys, I just don't have the energy to run out to my position and back, and there's no way I'm going to jog, right, or walk. So can I pitch?" And we were thinking, sure, whatever you want to do. You know, the guy's got cancer, just like whatever. And I was thinking to myself, like, pitching takes more energy, but whatever, go out and do that. So he would just kind of do a quick little sprint and then walk to the mound, and he pitched. And I think it was about probably around the 5th inning or something like that. And we come in between innings, and he sets down. And I'll never forget this day, because he started bending over and he was spitting up a lot of blood. And it was like, dude. And then on the other side of him was my buddy Jason, and looking at him, and Jason's sitting there looking at him going, dude. And then he finally goes, "What are you doing out here, man?" And Clay's like, "Hey, look, dude, I love baseball, and if I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out doing what I love." And that was, I'll never forget that moment. That was very emotional for me. And that kind of set the stage. And then what ended up happening was we actually eventually we lost him, and he passed away. And we did like a fundraiser for him, and he left 3 little boys behind. So it was a really, really tough deal. And that really stuck with me, because, you know, I lost my grandma to brain cancer. I lost my aunt to skin cancer, and actually have a family member right now with cancer. And I thought when you get old, you know, you die of something. So I really didn't think much of it. But this guy's like 40. He's 40 freaking years old, and he dies. And it was horrible the way he died, 80 pounds under his weight. You couldn't even recognize the guy. So then what happened was my best friend Charles, he calls me into his office one day, and he breaks the news that he's got cancer at age 43. And I'm just like, oh my God, here we go again. And I was like, well, what's going on? He's like, well, they don't really have a whole lot for me up at the hospital, or at the, you know, so except for chemo, and with my type of cancer.
We're talking blood cancer. So.
Yeah, you're done, right? There's nothing they can do. And they'll hit it with chemo, but it comes back, and then the second time, that's it. You go on an experimental drug, and cross your fingers that they can find a cure before you die. And Charles is like, that ain't in the cards for me. So he took complete responsibility for his health, and he ended up going to finding this Hippocrates Health Institute. It's like in West Palm Beach, Florida, they're like a detox cleansing clinic. They have you drink a bunch of fresh water and these green juice deals a couple times a day, and they put you on a bunch of fresh food. And they help you out mentally too. Like, you know,
you went with him, correct?
Yeah, and that's what he said. He said, hey, Tim, can you go with me to support me? And I'm like, dude, I'm in. I didn't know anything about the foods at the time, right? Because, you know, I was like big time hunter and fisher and big meat eater. And at that place, it was just all plants. But that's a side story. So I was a little freaked out, but we go to the Hippocrates Health Institute. And within a week, all my acid indigestion was gone. I'd lost 11 pounds, which was really cool. And my energy absolutely skyrocketed. And I looked at him on day 5, and we were walking back to the little cottage. And I said, dude, do you feel like I do? I mean, I like feel like I'm 20 years old again. And he's like, yeah. I said, dude, you're going to make it. You're going to make it. And I'm going to commit, and I'm going to do this with you. I'm going to do the whole ship, everything. I'm going to grow the sprouts, and we're going to juice, and we're going to do this. And that's exactly what we did. And fast forward, in a little over 2 years, he'd healed himself of this incurable cancer. And now he's living his dreams and he started a band, and he got his pilot's license.
This is 8 years later.
He's just rocking his life. Yeah, I just saw him yesterday playing in the band. He's got his own band.
Wow.
So what ended up happening, so that was awesome that he healed himself. And then all my health issues were gone. I lost all the weight. In 90 days, I lost 38 pounds. All my skin issues were gone on my shoulder in 60 days. In 8 months, the skin issue, that psoriasis crap on my knee was gone. And I'm 45, and I literally feel like I'm 20. And when you have a friend that dies of cancer, and he goes through the chemo and all this stuff, and, you know, fear mode, and you have another friend that takes responsibility, and he cleanses and goes to nutrition and goes back to nature, and he heals himself, I had to look at those two things and say, hey, what? This actually works. This is better than this, and I got to tell people about it. I have to tell people about this, because I asked the doctor when I was there at the Institute, I said, will this work for stomach cancer too? He's like, I think it was esophageal cancer. And he's like, oh, that's a soft tissue cancer, Tim. That's one of the easiest ones, because that's what Calais had. And I was like, man, if I would have just had this information, maybe I could have shared it with him. So I'm on a mission to get this information out to people now. And I just can't stop talking about it. So that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm so passionate about what I do. And I want the whole world to know that having good health is not complicated. It's actually very simple, and you can actually take charge of your health, and you can restore yourself. I don't care how bad it is. You can get your health back, or even if you just want to lose 10 pounds or take your athletic performance, there's more levels of health that you don't even know about, and that's what I'm passionate about sharing.
When did it come into a career? It started out as a philanthropy. I remember going to your classes. I remember you helping my wife with 3rd stage breast cancer. That's how we met.
Right.
And she healed herself. Her doctor said, not a good decision. You were part of that journey. When did you realize, I want to make this my all? Tell us about that journey and what led up to where you are today.
So for years, I started doing classes. You came to them, the dinner classes. They started on Wednesday nights, and then we started doing Tuesday and Wednesday nights. And I was speaking at churches and hospitals and grocery stores and apartment complexes, anywhere anybody would listen to me. And I would share this message about cleansing and detoxing and concentrated supplementation and eating fresh foods and how you can transform your health and, you know, getting off the standard American diet, basically, slowly but surely, and taking your time. And I just kept doing it and doing it and doing it. But I was a financial advisor at the time, and that was my career. And I had a lot of money and a lot of time invested in that deal, so I was just doing this, but I couldn't wait to get off of work and just tell people about drinking a green drink, right? Or talking about sprouts. And so I doubted myself, and I didn't really let it all out until, and embrace it until my younger brother died. And he died in a mountain biking accident. I'm going to try not to cry here because it's tough. It's like the Calais story. I did a good job on that one, but these things are hard for me. I've talked this story a lot. And so my little brother dies in this mountain biking accident, and then I'm just like so frustrated for like 6 months, just going, what the hell is going on here? It's like, and the worst part is I was actually adopted, and I didn't meet him until I was 21 and he was 15. So all of a sudden, I've got a brother, and then he's gone. He's gone. So I'm like, just like, Troy, what do you want me to do? It was 6 months into this after he died. I'm like, what do you want me to do, man? And he's like, he told me really clearly, do what you love and do it now. And I'm like, I'm getting into the health industry and I'm doing it now and I'm going to help people. I called my advisor buddy that was training me and I said, I'm out. I'm getting in the health industry. And he's like, what the hell are you going to do to make money? I'm like, I don't know, but I'm out. And I bought a big dry erase board and I started writing stuff down. And I just started calling people up on the phone and coaching them. And that's how I started making 11 And then eventually, I was actually talking to one of my clients who was a 73-year-old woman, and she was buying wheatgrass from us. So we started this company called the Sprout Company at the time. It's still going, it's online now, but and growing sprouts for people. We were growing sprouts for like 40, 50 people a week. I think you were getting some.
Oh, I was, and your wheatgrass was one of the most significant supports for my wife at that point.
Lynn was
curing her cancer.
Yeah, Lynn was doing a lot of wheatgrass, and this 73-year-old lady had severe kidney issues, and she was severely fatigued, really bad. And so she had a limited budget, so she could afford one tray of wheatgrass a week. And one day she calls me and she's like, "Hey Tim, I went into Dr. Bailey's to pick up my wheatgrass because that was one of our drop spots here because traffic's crazy and we couldn't deliver. We tried to deliver to everybody's home." But I was actually losing. I never made money in that company because it was just because I fed it to help people with my other business. And I was like, she's like, "I need my wheatgrass. I'm so tired." I'm thinking, this is going to be a 2.5-hour drive through traffic to get it to her, but I have to honor her. And then I looked over my desk and I had a bag of this, highly concentrated, green powder stuff, which was one of the products we had. And I said, "Hey, Karen, how about I just ship you out this bag of green stuff?" She's like, "But you said that fresh is always better." I said, "Well, I know, but this is really concentrated. Why don't you just try it, right?" So I guess some of it might have been I didn't want to go into the traffic, but I wanted to honor her. So I ship it over to her, and long story short, she calls me back in about a week, and she's like, "Tim," she goes, "this green powder is amazing." She's like, "It gives me just as much energy as my wheatgrass, and I don't have to clean that damn juicer." It was hard for her, because it's heavy, and she doesn't have a lot of shoulder strength and all that stuff. So I was like, "Great." And then I hung up the phone. And here I am going back to coaching, trying to make a living, trying to figure out this health stuff, how I'm going to be in the industry. And then she calls me up 2 weeks later. She's like, "Tim," she's like, "I need some more of this powder. I'm out." And I was like, "Well, the Formulator I work with, he's really booked up. He doesn't take on any more clients. I was like the last ones to get in through a friend. I'll see what I can do." And I called him up and he's like, "Dude, I don't have any room for any more clients." I was like, "Well, why don't you just send me like 6 pounds of this stuff and I'll bag it up and send it to her." And I did. And that was the beginning of me getting into the supplement industry.
I remember getting the bags.
Yeah, and she taught me, Ziploc bags, and I just wrote green stuff on it, and I shipped it out to 6 of my friends, and 4 of them called me up within a week and said, "What is in this stuff? It tastes like garbage, but man, do I feel good." And then I'm like, okay, maybe this is going to be part of the equation. And then that's kind of how the whole the supplement lines got born of the products.
Let's talk about the supplement line, because I remember when I was diagnosed with, gosh, I even hate to talk about it, prostate cancer.
Yeah.
And I had just won the Mr. Oregon title, and 4 months later my body's changing, and you came over and looked at all my supplements and you said, "How much are you spending on this?" And I said, "About $600 to $700 a month." And you said, "They all have chemicals in them."
No.
What's wrong with that story? I think you say something like 92% or 95% of all the supplements on the line are not actually chemical-free body. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, 92% of the products on the market are synthetic, which means they're acid-based. Your body is made of carbon, so it's carbon-based. And acid and carbon are never gonna work. It's never gonna simulate. So what you need is a carbon-based supplement, which ends up being naturally occurring real food. That's what you need. So concentrated food, which is carbon-based, will assimilate perfectly with the body. And so that's the big difference here. Now here's the problem with this whole scenario, is that somebody's got a health challenge. Maybe they want to boost their athletic performance. Maybe they're a young mother wanting to take prenatal vitamins so they can get healthy for their new baby. And so they spend time online to order some stuff. They search, they research, or they drive in traffic, and they take their after-tax, hard-earned money and they go purchase this supplement for a benefit. And what they're actually doing is they're destroying their health and lowering their immune system. They're doing the exact opposite. It's like a 180-degree upside-down bizarro world in what's going on today. And this is allowed. Now, here's the problem. This is the rub with these things, is these synthetic chemicals. There's a process that a lot of companies use called micronization. And a lot of people are talking about it. But what micronization means is they take that synthetic chemical that was made in a laboratory and they make it very, 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 very small. And by doing that, it's able to get into the cell better. Because a lot of people's cells, or people are dehydrated because they're not drinking enough water. That lipid membrane, or it's that fat membrane that circles it and encompasses the cell, is kind of non-existent. It's very weak. So people have a hard time absorbing nutrients. So by micronization, or making it really tiny, they basically rape the cell and force these synthetic chemicals into your cell.
Wow.
And then guess what happened? You feel it. You're like, oh, I got an effect. Oh, this must be working. This is great. And then 2-3 weeks later, 2-3 months later, it's not working as well and you can't figure it out, but you keep taking it because it worked and you kind of remember that it did, or maybe you have to take more of it. And this is very good for people's pocketbooks as the companies, but it's not really good for your health. You're actually doing the exact opposite. And for me, this is a moral sin, what's going on. So I'm not about that. I believe that people should only put in their bodies naturally occurring supplements that are made from nature, and that's it. And when you do that, you're actually going to boost your immune system and accomplish your initial goal, which is to be healthier, and no matter what you're trying to accomplish. Yeah.
How in the world did I get so fortunate to have you in my path? I always talk about you when I'm at the gym and youth come up to me, or I'm in the sauna and somebody's saying, brother, what are you doing? What are you taking? What's your regimen, your fitness regimen?
Yeah.
And I say, Tim James. I say, Tim James, right? What these doctors couldn't tell me when they thought I might have MS, or it looks like you have prostate cancer, or we need to do a biopsy.
Yeah.
What was really happening for me is I had major digestive issues. I had candida.
Yeah, you did.
You know, you talk a lot. You taught me that the first and most important part is cleaning out the gut. There's 65 million people in this case survey that are challenged with abdominal pain, gut issues, digestive issues.
A lot.
Why is it so important to work at that first so that the supplements and the food can help that bind?
Well, being that I had what was called leaky gut syndrome, which about 90% of people are, and for the people that might be tuning in today,
90%.
Yeah, it's a lot, dude. It's a lot. It's some level. Yeah. So what leaky gut is, to explain it for those that aren't aware of what it is, because I wasn't, I didn't know any of this stuff. I was just trying to live my life and have fun and raise my kids and do this kind of stuff. So leaky gut syndrome is basically from the chemicals that are constantly coming in from the air we breathe and the water we drink and the food we eat and the poor food choices and the poor improper food combining and all this stuff. Your gut gets jacked up, right? And the stress. Stress is a big one. Stress is a gut killer.
I can't believe, I never would have thought that was even part of the equation.
It's a big part of the equation.
Which was a part of what was causing me.
Yes, it causes constriction. So anyway, back to leaky gut. What leaky gut is it's microscopic holes in the intestinal lining, like in your small intestine, and then undigested food particles and microbes slip into the bloodstream and they cause inflammation internally, what's called systemically inside of you, and then inflammation is the precursor to all disease. Right. And this is why a lot of women have thyroid issues, people get headaches, they get cancer, they get, whatever, skin issues like I did, gut issues. So we have to heal the gut. The gut is the driving engine for your health. So it's pretty simple. What we do is we teach people that to take care of your gut, right? We got to get it back into balance. And how we do that is to, number one, clean it. We want to get nice and clean. We want to do that gently. We want to hydrate it with lots of water. That's part of the cleaning process. And then we're going to recolonize it, seed it back up with some good probiotics. We use the spore-based, which don't die in the stomach acid, very critical, very important. And also with the prebiotics that comes with those probiotics to feed them and help them grow, right? And then the proper nutrients and all this stuff. And then we give our gut time to heal itself, right? So it's just like a car. I look at your body like a car. If it ain't running well, you've got a check body light on, or check engine light, it's flashing red. You don't just keep driving it down the road, because if you don't take it into the shop, you're going to end up with a big repair bill, or it's going to leave you stranded on the side of the road and it's going to break down, and then you're screwed, right? And then you're in trouble. And that's what people are doing with their health, Steve. They're doing this every day. They're overweight like I was. Skin issues, gut issues, fatigue. They're not sleeping well. They have no energy when they come home after work. They can't even play with their kids. They can't play with their grandkids. They can't even bend over and pick up a pencil they dropped because they're so out of shape. And what's happened, these are check body lights. If you're on medications, that's a major check body light. Your body's saying, stop. You have to change your lifestyle. It's not a diet. It's a lifestyle. So this is what happens to people. So what we suggest is if you have a check body light, that you pause.
Love that.
We take the body into the shop, just like a car. You don't just put good fuel in it. You got to clean out the engine. You got to clean out, flush the transmission fluid and flush the engine and new spark plugs, a new fuel filter, a new oil filter, new oil, new transmission oil. Then you put the good fuel in and it's gonna run well. And then by God, get back in there and maintenance that sucker so you don't end up right back where you were. Because if it comes back the second time, usually when people have health challenges, it comes back with a vengeance. And sometimes the second or third time when you do this, if you do this yo-yo pattern, you're not going to bring yourself back. Yeah, so that's really important, just to take charge of your health, find some support, and just go for it because you're worth it. And you need to start loving yourself. That's what we teach people. Yeah.
And go.
What I love about you is you're all about the people. You are an advocate for people on what they need to know before they buy supplements and especially food. You have this phrase that you use, naturally occurring ingredients. You've coined it, and it makes a lot of sense. You've got doctors, naturopaths, coaches, trainers, dietitians coming to you for your information. What do we need to know before we buy products and especially know about food?
Okay, so naturally occurring means just that. It naturally occurs in nature. It's really simple. So the way I look at things, it's either naturally occurring or it's not. That's it. That's all you have to know. And it's really simple. So man is just we're not as smart as we think we are. I mean, we have unlimited potential, but I think a lot of us are just not using it right now. And the way I look at it, Steve, is that man's been around with synthetics and doing that kind of stuff for a couple hundred years, maybe. Let's say a couple thousand, whatever. How long has nature been around? Billions of years, right? Who's got it figured out better? Okay, there's no question. It's freaking nature, right? Man, to this day, can still not make an apple from scratch. Only nature can do that, right? So if you have a health challenge, or again, you want to boost your performance or whatever, nature, man in a laboratory, who do you want to go be served by? It's pretty simple to me. So the question I have for people is like, would you knowingly put something into your body that was made in a laboratory? It's a synthetic, it's not from nature and it's real. And would you put that in your body? I mean, it's just a simple question. But see, the problem is that millions and millions of people are doing this on a daily basis.
When we're tired, we're overwhelmed, and we're going through the drive-through, not me.
Right. So I'll give you an example, right? A lot of people have heard about GMOs and genetic modification and all this kind of stuff, right? So the tomato plant's a perfect example. What they do with some tomato plants is they are genetically modifying it. Here's the tomato, and here's a flounder, which is a fish that lives at the bottom of the ocean in a very cold environment. And they're splicing the genes of the flounder with the genes of a tomato. Boop. And they put them in a petri dish, and they inject them with a bunch of stuff. E. coli is one of them to get it to take.
No way.
And basically what ends up happening is some of them take and they get, and now they've got a tomato that has the genes of a flounder in it so that it's not as susceptible to frost. So they can sell those seeds in larger regions and make more profit. Now here's the problem. And then on top of it, a lot of the people that are growing these things, or for commercial use, are spraying them with herbicides like Roundup, right? And they're also putting chemical fertilizers on them, which are all synthetics. So here you are, you're a mom or a dad, and you go to the store and you're trying to buy some healthy food for your family. So you go and you buy the organic section. It's a little bit more, right? And you grab that stuff. And you take it home, and guess what? You're ingesting flounder genes, you're ingesting chemicals, and nobody knows about it because it's so microscopic. Wow. It's so small, right? I call it the no-see-ums. Now, to me, again, this is another moral sin because if you knew that there was fish genes in the tomato, and you knew that there was like chemical fertilizers being used in that came from a laboratory, and you knew that there's chemical herbicides or larvicides or fungicides or whatever else they put on it in that tomato, would you ingest it?
No.
Would you give it to your children?
No.
But we are. See, this is the problem with what's going on today. Again, I think this is a human rights violation, in my opinion, and I believe we should only use naturally occurring ingredients and real food in all of our product lines and also in the food we eat.
How do we get it? Where do we find it?
Well, they can order from you. That's what they can do.
Right.
They can get it from you.
So
We
supplements,
formulate for
and
you.
How about what are we looking for when we go to grocery stores or we order? Where do we find the food?
Yes. So I want to backtrack because I said organic earlier. Organic has been jeopardized a little bit. There can be up to 150 different chemicals in the organic label, but it's a lot better than the conventionally grown. If the PLU sticker on your produce starts with a 4, that means it's conventionally grown. Pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, larvicides, and that kind of stuff. Chemical fertilizers. If it starts with an 8, that means genetically modified. If it starts with a 9, that means organic. Wow. So it really pares down the amount of chemicals and synthetics that can go into that mix. But the world today is just so polluted. But that's the best thing you can do is just try to get organic. Even better, go to farmers markets. Ask your farmer questions. Do you spray? What do you put on your products? What kind of fertilizer do you use? And you can, let's see, farmers markets, CSAs is another good place to go. And then talk to your local produce manager. If there's some type of food or produce that you want, ask them if they can bring it in. A lot of times they will. And that's about as good as you can do. Now, the best thing to do is to grow your own food.
Yeah, and let's talk about
the best thing.
The formulation of your products,
yeah.
Why they work. I mean, my grocery bill has gone completely down. My son's a vegan. Your supplements as the formulator for your brand's amazing. Mm-hmm. My health is completely turned around.
That's awesome.
Why and what makes your supplements so beyond what they can find in the marketplace?
Well, number one, they're naturally occurring in nature. That's one thing. They're highly concentrated because even though we use very gentle processing, a lot of times this stuff is grown with human hands. In fact, let's backtrack. Number one, the first thing is that the raw materials come from farms that have nutrient-dense soils. That's number one. Because 85% of the soils today are farmed, the nutrients are farmed out. So if you're eating stuff or using a supplement raw material from ground that's nutrient deficient, it's not going to be in you when you eat it, and you're going to be deficient. That's why people are starving to death, and that's why we've become overweight as a nation, yet we're malnourished, right? You see all the extended stomachs, they call them beer bellies. These are nutrient deficiencies. These are actually protein deficiencies. If you look at these, over in Africa and stuff, little kids running around with the big bellies, that's a protein deficiency, right? Nutrient deficiency. So we have these major nutrient deficiencies going on. So to go back, high quality soil, plants grown in their natural region, wild crafted, processed under 105, 110 degrees. So we use air drying or sun drying. It's a 2 to 3 day process. It takes longer. And we also like to make sure that it's highly concentrated and that it's fair trade and that there's no slave labor involved. This is very important to us. Very important to us. I don't want to harm anybody along the way. Not just putting it in their mouth, but anybody that's helping us along the way to lift and dig and just do anything, like any part of the processing. We want everybody to benefit. So that's why they would want to buy our product lines.
I remember when you came over and you looked at all my supplements and you picked up one capsule and you said, "Do you know what's in this capsule?" And I said, "I think I know what's in this capsule." And you said, "Do you know that this capsule is filled with fillers?" And do you know why? Because Americans or people think the whole capsule needs to be full, and it really doesn't need to be full. It's called fillers. And you taught me about fillers. Expand on that.
Okay. So not only in supplementation do you need to make sure that all the ingredients are naturally occurring, you have to look at the other ingredients. There's another section on the supplement that says other ingredients. That's very important because those other ingredients, they're also ingredients, okay? And you're going to be ingesting them. So not only do you have to think about the raw materials going in the capsule, you have to think about the capsule itself that's going into your body and making sure that's like a veggie cap. That's the easiest way. Because a lot of those caps are made from like cow hides, right?
Wow.
Could be diseased GMO, mad cow disease cow hides. You don't want to do that. So you use a veggie cap, right? Number one. And then these binders, fillers, and flow agents. Let me explain. These are called excipients. It's a big word that basically it's for the manufacturing end of things because they have these machines and they fill these pills and they do it very quickly. And these flow agents like magnesium stearate as an example, or silicon dioxide, or dicalcium phosphate, some of the big three are in there. And like magnesium stearate as an example, that can come from cow bones. Again, can come from cow bones. Or if it's a plant-based source, it could come from genetically modified canola oil or genetically modified corn oil. And again, GMO, laboratory, mad scientist type stuff. And you're taking in a little bit of that stuff, right? A little bit of that stuff. And you don't want that. Silicon dioxide as an example, that's actually a level 3 toxin on the EPA's list of toxins. Wow. But it's in the supplements. So these manufacturing companies use these as like flow agents and fillers because it allows the encapsulation machines to work very fast, and they're anti-caking so they don't cake up, so they can get the production going, right? There's nothing wrong with that, except for the fact that you take it, if a company took all this time to put good raw materials together, and then they have these binders, fillers, and flow agents in there that are chemical and nasty and genetically modified, you're kind of missing the whole point there, right?
Integrity.
Exactly. So the story that I tell on this to get people to wake up is the story about this lady's famous brownies. She'd won the medals for years and years and years. Her family loved the brownies, and her daughter came home one day with her friend, and she had some brownies made. And her daughter's like, "Oh, awesome. Can we have some brownies?" And her mom's like, "Oh yeah, sure." And she's like, "Hey mom, we're gonna go watch this movie tonight. I just wanted your permission because I know you won't let us go to a rated R movie, but this is a rated R movie." And mom's sitting there listening to her, and she's like, "But here's the deal, Mom, there's only one cuss word in it, and there's like this naked scene, but it's just like a flash. You don't hardly see it. So it's nothing. It's not a big deal. So one little cuss word, and it's just this barely naked, right? Partly naked scene. But it's a movie, and all the kids are going, and everybody's going, we want to go so bad." And the mom said, "You know what? Yeah, you can go." And then the daughter was like, "What's going on here?" Because mom has never done that before. So of course she's drew the line in the sand on that kind of stuff. And she's like, "Yeah, you can go, but I have one condition. She's like, "What's that?" She's like, "You have to have one of my special brownies. You and your friend have to eat one of my brownies before you leave." And they looked at each other and like, "Okay, sure." And they reached to grab the brownies, and they were really excited to eat them. And their mom said, "Well, wait a minute, just so you know, these brownies are just a little bit different than how I normally make them." And they were like, "What do you mean?" So, well, it's the same ingredients, same process, same recipe, except for one little thing. In this recipe, I put just a little teeny bit of cat poop in them. And the girl's like, "Oh, gross, ew, disgusting." And,
right.
and then she's like, "We're not eating that." And she said, "Well, of course you're not. And that's exactly why you're not going to go watch this movie. Because even though the whole movie's fantastic and it's got a great story, there's a little bit of crap in it. And you're too young to be witnessing that." And that's how I feel about supplements. And I'm very passionate about it. If I'm going to take the time to put together all these raw materials, I'm not going to bastardize these supplements with a little piece of, crap, to put it lightly, that's going to destroy somebody's health over time. It's not right. Again, it's a moral obligation to me to make sure that we put good things into people, because I take these supplements myself. Number one, they're going in me, and I just couldn't look somebody in the eyes. I couldn't sleep at night to do it that way. So that's why it's very important to really know your supplements and what you're getting.
And go.
Tim, over the last 8 years, you've dealt with so many people, customers, really you treat them like patients that have come to you with serious health conditions or diseases. I think we live as if it's never going to happen to us.
Right.
When we hear a relative or a friend has cancer or MS or some kind of autoimmune disease, we have compassion, but what we're really thinking about is, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that's not me." Why is that people wait until they have a disease or a serious condition to take action on their health?
Well, I believe in my experience of dealing with all these people over the last 7+ years is that, number one, it's not their fault. It's the environment created today that people are dealing with. We're dealing with a tremendous amount of stress, number one. We're dealing with a tremendous amount of environmental pollution. We're dealing with a tremendous amount of food that has been, the soil's denatured. We're missing 85% of the nutrients, all this stuff. It's irradiated, it's pasteurized, it's cooked at high temperatures, it's not fresh, it's been sprayed with a bunch of garbage.
Media, the food channel.
Right? So how is somebody going to be healthy in that environment? Okay, it's not our fault. Now that you have this information though, you have to do something about it. Because what the big question here that you're asking is, Like, why are people waiting? The other reason is because society has ripped away their power. Hey, don't worry about it. When you get sick, we'll be over here. We'll take care of you. We've got all this stuff, and we have all this technology, and we've spent billions of dollars in research, right? Spent all this stuff. So don't worry about it. And when you get something happens, we'll just give you a pill. We'll get you in and out. You can go right back to your life, and you don't have to change anything, sir or madame. You don't have to change your diet. You don't have to start drinking water. You don't have to exercise. You don't have to do nothing. We'll just give you a pill, and if that doesn't work, then we'll slice you up a little bit. And if that doesn't work, we'll give you some more drugs. We'll irradiate you. And my question to you is is that really where you want to be? I can tell you emphatically that after I had my first surgery, which will hopefully be my last, I never want to go back. It's the worst thing. You're laying on a table, and all of a sudden the mask comes over, and you go out. And then you wake up, and you're hooked up to tubes. You're laying there, and there's people around you, and you got incisions in you, and you have to heal, and it takes time to heal. Now, there's a place for that. Emergency room physicians, amazing.
Can we stay with that? I mean, I remember when in a skiing accident, I ripped my bicep all the way up, and I remember that day that I went in for surgery. It happened the next day. They could get me in the next day, and they said, you got to get in for surgery the next day. And I remember laying there, and I'm kind of emotional. My wife's there, and I'm thinking, I'm so glad they're operating on my bicep and not operating inside of me.
Right.
And I often say prevention is doing the thing that you know you need to do so you don't have to deal with the thing that you don't want. And there's prevention that shows up in marriage, prevention that shows up in finances, prevention that shows up in health, even at a career that we're taking advantage of, right? And why don't people plug into prevention? What is it? What else are part of the reasons? And I know this is what your company is all about, and your brand, your product line, it's so much more than a product line. When you really think about what we offer and this whole great partnership that we've created, and this new 12-week program that's just absolutely about helping people. Elaborate on that.
They don't know what to do. They're confused. They go online. There's a bunch of conflicting information. So people, when they're confused, they do two things. They either do nothing, or 98% of the cases, they do the wrong thing. And what we over here, or what we're doing with our companies, is to help people give them a plan that works from people that have done it themselves, that were where they were at. If you're listening to this today, you might be in that situation, right? These people that are listening today, maybe you're fatigued, maybe you've got night sweats like I did, gut issues, you've got cancer, whatever. This could be the fork in the road for you. This could be a fork in the road for them, as I should say. So the whole point is that you're just going to have to love yourself enough to make some changes. That's number one. And then get plugged into somebody that has the results that you want. It's just not somebody saying it. It's somebody that's doing it, living it, breathing it. We are healthy. I'm healthy right now. The coaches that I work with and the coaches that you work, we're healthy right now. Plug into somebody that right now has had poor health and confronted that, pushed through it, and now has ideal health. That's the type of person that you want to work with, and that's what we offer. We offer it's a roadmap, and it's support, and it's community, and it's love.
Yeah, let's talk
and it's perfect.
More about
it's
that.
perfect.
Because we looked at, when someone goes to buy a supplement and they say, I've got a gut issue, or I have this abdominal pain, and sales rep is showing them the different product line, and that's when it came alive with this whole team that we looked at. Wow, what happens if they said, well, if you buy this product line, you're going to get a 12-week program, and you're going to hear from a concierge expert through this company, and they're going to set you up with a coach and do a wellness assessment. They're going to take you through a 12-week program on how to take charge of your health, increase your energy and your fitness. And we're going to walk them through it, and then a whole community to support that, And we looked at that from the premises that people need help, and you kept saying to the team, we need to hold their hand.
Yes.
We need to give them 12 weeks, and we need to give them these simple wins that they can make to turn around their health. And even through that conversation, our branding expert said, it's really about turn around, not going down that same path, getting in the environment with situations where you know, gosh, I'm going to order a drink and I don't really want one, or I don't want to go to that Italian restaurant because I never feel good. And that's where that whole dream was born, in helping the customer. Talk more about your philosophy, because it's been permeated into my philosophy and our team's philosophy about the compassion and the integrity of helping the end user, that person that we say, okay, we want to help. Talk more about what that means to you.
Well, the passion comes from my own transformation. My passion comes from watching a friend die, to go through cancer, and then watching another friend not die and heal himself. Heal himself, that's the key word. Nobody can heal you, Steve. And for the people listening, I'm gonna tell them nobody can heal you either. It's gonna be up to you to heal yourself. And just like me, luckily for me, I wasn't even looking, because I was one of the people. I had my head buried in the sand and I was living in fear. It took a friend almost dying of cancer to drag me to an institute where I got out of my normal environment, and I started looking at all these people, and they looked 10, 15, 20 years younger than their age. And these people there that were having issues, they were healing. And then I started healing, and I'm like, I don't care what anybody says, this stuff works. It works. So having compassion for people, to know that they're in the same place that I was in, is the first step. And realizing they don't have a map. Nobody was given us an owner's manual for our body when we were born. Did you get one? No. Our parents didn't get one, so we can't blame them either. So we basically just become a product of our environment. We become a product of our society. And all we need to do is find a few people that have broke free, like we have, and plug into us. That's all we ask. Come on in, come on over. Stick your toes in the water, it feels good. And we'll help you. We'll grab you by the hand, and we're gonna lift you up, and we're gonna get you, because the whole thing is we wanna teach people how to take care of themselves. That's what it boils down to.
So I got one last question.
Yeah.
So I like aesthetics. I've had kind of one fear. It's not really a fear anymore, but I didn't really want to grow old.
Yeah.
I like to look good. I like to feel good. Betty White is one of my rock stars. And I remember this coach saying to me, you really kind of have an issue about growing old, which means you have a value around anti-aging. You have a value around vitality. Why do I continually, how old are you?
89.
Okay, that's right. That's right. How old are you? You're 45, 44?
45, yeah.
45. Well,
Yeah.
I know my friends meet you and I see at events, people don't think you're over 30, right?
Yeah.
Why are your products, your chemical-free products, your formulations, supporting anti-aging? I know every year I feel like I'm looking younger.
Yeah, so they're just replacing the deficiencies that are in the soil today, in the food chain. It's really that simple. I'm just drinking more water than I used to, and it's purified. So I'm always cleansing the gut, taking care of my gut, that engine, that driver for health, and putting in these highly concentrated nutrients to replace simply what's missing. And it's like taking a plant that's drooping and pouring water on it and watching it come back to life. The wrinkles go away, your energy comes back. A lot of my clients will experience, especially the women, I hear this a lot, within 4 to 5 months, doing the cleansing and on the products and doing with the coaching and all that stuff. In some cases, they start going, "Oh wow, my skin's feeling softer," and people start saying, "Hey, your skin's glowing. What are you doing?" And then their hairdressers are literally telling them this. What do you do?
I've spent $400 on anti-aging cream. Wrong, right?
Yeah, you want to get young. It's from the inside out. Heal the gut. Your skin's going to look amazing. It's inside out. But these hairdressers are telling them like, hey, your roots are coming in thicker. What are you doing? You'll notice that your nails will start getting shiny and these little ridges that you have from nutrient deficiencies start going away.
Interesting.
All these things. Your mental clarity comes back. Your energy comes back. The gas and the bloating goes away. And you're just going to be more youthful and you're going to feel better because you're plugging back into nature and that's where you're from. It's that simple. It's not hard. It's really easy. And that's why we got to get this information out to people because they need it. I know I needed it. It changed my life.